I think it's that you do something that you're not supposed to do, or you did something that's not right.
So guilt is something that we feel ourselves, right? When we do an action, we do something that impacts others, that doesn't align with who we believe that we are or know that we are, and so we feel bad for it.
I think guilt is a feeling that each individual person gets when they either know they did something wrong or they did something out of character for what they would normally do, and it's an internalized feeling where you're either down on yourself or you have regret for your actions.
So, because I was thinking about this, as a noun, it's the fact that a wrong has occurred. Right? Whether it's violating a law or violating other aspects of kind of accepted norms. And then the idea as a verb is then to guilt someone, right, in acknowledging that they have done wrong.
Guilt. I think guilt is remorse. When you feel guilty, when you feel remorseful about something.
I think shame is when a person goes out of their way to make another person feel bad about something that they did that they didn't agree with or that they didn't think was morally right.
Shame is something that is really, it's a disconnecting emotion, right? It's the emotion that really takes us to a place where we feel unworthy of love, that we shouldn't belong, and it's more of something that's placed upon us than it is something that we maybe intrinsically feel.
I think shame is something that other people put on you when either they don't agree with what you've done or society has decided that what you did was wrong, and it's something that they place upon you and they make you feel bad about yourself as a way of punishment or correction of an action.
Shame, as a noun, is the emotion. I think kind of a deep, difficult emotion based off of our actions. It might be the conscious then feeling that you have after wrongdoing.
Shame, I think, is more where you feel so close, disgraced.
I think guilt and shame, especially in high school, are really active parts of how people communicate with each other, and it's never in a positive way, and you don't ever really feel guilty or shameful for doing the right thing. And I think people, in order to feel like they're in a position of power or they're superior to someone, they'll make someone else feel really bad about themselves, and you see that a lot in high school with like petty girl fights or friend situations where one friend wants to be right and wants to have the power and the superiority, and they will make everyone else around them feel bad in order to maintain that position.
I think it happens kind of subconsciously and very subtly, but it's easy for humans to do that to others.
Social media. You see that on social media. Kids will make themselves feel better at the expense of somebody else.
I see the most shaming happen on social media, and I think that that's really due to the fact that you're allowed to hide behind a screen. And I've seen a lot of instances where, like, if someone is different than the other person or they make different choices than the other person, I often see like a lot of people like ganging up on another person and like shaming them for what they're interested in instead of like accepting them, and then they use social media as a platform to do that.
Yeah, you see it all the time. So guilt, I think we don't see as much in social media because it would mean that people would need to take accountability for their actions, right? I think some people do, and if they inherently are, I'm so sorry that that happened, that I caused any of that pain, that would be guilt that they're expressing. But I think what we see predominantly is shame, and that's because in our society, people are always vying for power, right? Power in a social structure, and that makes them feel better. And so a lot of people gain that power by shaming others, because shaming allows people to disconnect and keep them away and keep them unloved and out of the social circle. So if you shame them, they'll pull away, and then you have more of the attention. And I think we see it a lot in social media. I think as teenagers, you guys see it a lot.
I think since the creation of social media, communication in general has become completely skewed, and people are able to say things that they wouldn't normally say in person, and that creates both shame and guilt. I think with shame, it's really easy to see someone's Facebook post or see something that someone put on Instagram and instantly judge them, and instantly, comment, oh, this is gross, or, we no longer communicate face to face, and we're no longer held accountable for our actions. We can pretty much say whatever we want, and if it blows up, you can always delete it and act like it never happened. And I think that plays a huge role in our communication and the way we treat others.
So today, well, historically, because I kind of think of this big picture, like are we a guilt culture or are we a shame culture? And I think big picture historically, we've kind of wavered and gone back and forth. I think initially, with the beginnings and the role of religion in society, that we were more of a shame culture. And I think we've moved away from that to some extent to become more of a guilt culture, like just to have those feelings, to acknowledge wrongdoing. But I think with the role of social media that we have gone back to a shame culture because it's so easy for people to do, right? I still think there's this idea of it being subtly delivered and then explicitly delivered, and I think social media allows for it to be more explicitly delivered. But I still think on social media and in the classroom and in society in general that most of the shame culture is subconscious, like making people feel badly, right, about their actions and isolating them to hopefully get them to experience something that's negative, whether again it's conscious or not.
I think people can feel guilty, and that can change their behavior if you can point out who they are versus what they're doing and have them really look at that. But shaming is never a way to change somebody's behavior in a positive light. It'll change it in a negative light in terms of, if you want them to feel worse about who they are as a person, or if you don't want them to be a part of what you're doing, then of course shame is a great way to do that. But most people, that's not what they're using it for, right? Intentionally. They're intentionally trying to disconnect people so they can feel better about themselves.
I think guilt and shame can be extremely dangerous in modifying someone's behavior. I think it works very well, but for all the wrong reasons. I think if someone tells you that what you did was wrong and they make you feel like a really crappy person for it, you're gonna go out of your way to never feel that way again, because especially in today's society, when your image and how people see you and the way people treat you defines us, it's a very effective behavior changer for all the wrong reasons. It's very negative, and it's not, if you hurt someone and you feel guilty, that's you changing yourself and you changing your decisions and your behaviors. But if someone is shaming you and making you feel bad for what you did, your behavior is modified in a completely different way, and you're going to do whatever you can to please that person, and you're going to forget who you are.
I do not. So as I said earlier, like being very conscious of it in our personal lives, we try really hard not to shame, to help people accept and understand their guilt in their actions and behavior, but not to shame them. Yes, I don't think it's effective.
Only in extreme situations, only for those really, really important life lessons. I mean, you can only use logic with somebody so much to say this is what you need to do or what needs to be done. But until they can internalize it, sometimes it needs to be internalized. You can tell somebody, don't bully, don't bully, don't bully. But if it makes you feel good, then you're still going to bully. Right. But if you can pull that element of guilt and shame in, then it really makes you stop and take a look at yourself deeper, and that humiliation that you feel and that disgrace that you feel can change your behavior.